So if I cast your mind back to when we took the BV apart and we got the rear track tensioners, and we took them off because we had some play in them. Well, I can now show you where the play is. So the bolt, as you saw, is held on this axle here, and we've got this end bush, or this end spigot that goes through this bush. Now it's apart. I'll put it back together so you can see what I'm talking about, but that's where the play is. And what has happened is, how well the camera picks it up, but this shoulder here is no longer straight. Let me see if I can get this so you can see that. So I've got a straight edge here. I don't know how well you can see that gap underneath. You see my nose for it. So we've got actually, it's probably lost about 1.5 mil. Times that by 2 for both sides, but that's where our 3 mil play is. And once you get a little bit of play in there, the fact that's rattling up and down in the mud and the grinding paste that what you get in muddy puddles, it's going to accelerate this tenfold. This actually goes into a bush, and once it wears through that bush, it's going to wear into the swing arm and write the swing arm off. So, you know, these things need, all right, yes, it's not going to stop the vehicle from working, but it's not about making this vehicle work today, it's about keeping it running for future. So how do we fix that? Let me take off the axle. So here he is, all removed. So what we need to do is we need to true this face back up, and then we can make a new bush to its size. So our first job is going to be turn this bit down until we get rid of its little burr. We want it completely straight and parallel with each other. So I've got on the lathe. What I've done, we're turning slowly, we're going to take very light cuts, but what I've done is pinned it against the chock with the tailstock. I pinned it against the chock with the tailstock. Okay, we're only going to take light little cuts. You can see now that we've only touched that very edge there and the very edge here. So we go in another that's 1/4 mil. You can still see we've got that low point. What we will do is just quickly clean up this face here. Don't remove any material as such, just make sure we're still running true. And then put a little bit of relief in the corner. That is us now all trued up. So we're now round again. If we go back to the swing arm, you'll really see now the play. So now we need to make a new one of them bushes. So what we'll do is we'll press that out, and then I'll show you how we do that.
The bushes in these are a bit knackered. So a lot of our play has been in these. So now I've got it on the press. So you've seen us take everything else out. Aaron's been making new ones on the lathe. So we're going to push these old bushes out. Try and get it Get it so it lines up a bit better, yeah. Okay, that's one out. Rolled away. There goes that one. So they were a bit tight, but they come out all right. So we'll end up cleaning these up and getting them ready for new bushes.
Right then, so now we've got that little spacer trued up, and Josh has pushed out the old one and got him out of the way of the swing arm. Started off as a piece of solid, machined them to rough sides, then parted them off and made ourselves some blanks. So currently they are 28mm ID, because that was just the size that I had that made sense at the time of the drill bits. So we turned him down until he's now flat and true. We now need to make these a nice fit. So we'll get them on the lathe and we'll start turning him down. So the first thing we've got to do is, because these were just rough blanks that we've cut out, the original, this shoulder here is 2mm. Well, currently it is 2.6. So we'll take that down to 2mm first, and then we'll swap to the boring bar. Face off, set our dial. That tip could do with being changed, actually. So now what we'll do is we'll swap to the boring bar, and then we'll start turning the internal size down to what size our collar is. And our collar is 30.78. So we probably want to be 30.8, 30.85. Well, back to the boring bar now. And we'll turn the ID down. To start with, we'll go 30.7, and then we'll do the rest by feel, really. So we'll touch off. Not quite as much as that, but luckily we're massively undersized. that perfect. I've got a swarf down my t-shirt too. Not so perfect. Choke key I've left here. Right, that's the last one of these made. Now, Josh is going to push out the little bushes out of the housings and we'll start measuring up and seeing about making them.
Carrying on in the list of bushes we're replacing, this one's had them pressed out, but there is one that goes in the end of each of them. And they have this bolt that runs through it and they go on here. And they're the pivot for the tensioner. And if I put this bush that we've pressed out on this bolt, you can see it kind of wobbles around. So a combination of these bolts are worn, the bushes are worn. And there's a shoulder, you can see that shoulder there. So that's what's worn away, is what's not meeting that shoulder. So we're making new bushes. So we've got to press the old ones out and press new ones in. Okay, let's put that one pushed out. Out. You let go of it. Oh yeah.
Feet.
Yep. There you go. That's that bush pushed out. Just needs a bit of heat and 5 ton. I now have all 4 with bushes pushed out.
So the other little bit of play we had in these swing arms was this hole here, which is how that second pivot goes on. And they are a push-in bush, like this. They're steel, and they were, I'd argue, probably oversized. And the last time this was overhauled in the Swedish Army, but some of them are worn and and got a lot of play in. Others are just that tight that the bush is then, the bolt, rather than turning in this bush, is turning in the housing here, which is not bushed, so it's just going to wear the housing. So I thought, as we've got some to replace anyway, we'll just do the whole lot. And we need to keep this all rigid and tight. There's no suspension on the rear, so a little bit of play here is just helps them idlers moving side to side, which deep groove roller ball bearings don't take a side load, and that, I think that is what's knocking out the rear tensioner bearings. Tried to get a bit of pipe that was the right size. Unfortunately though, I can only get 30mm solid. It's a weekend, so beggars can't be choosers. I've got nothing in stock that size, so I'm going to cut this down into manageable bits now. 90mm long, so then I can make 2 a time on the little lathe, because I don't have a massive lathe currently. So what I've done is I've cut that bar into manageable lengths that I can turn 2 bushes at a time on the lathe. But this is the bolts that go through them. I don't know how well the camera will pick up that big burr, and they are no longer round. Perhaps if I put a straight edge along, you'll see that there is a gap under there. So we need to turn these on the lathe now so we can true them up. But it's not the most fun shape to get on the lathe. So I'll show you how I'm doing that. This face here we're trying to turn off, and so I am going to pop this in the lathe the wrong way round. And so, I'll turn him, and then well, that then allow us to do. Changing the drill bit then for the rotating steady. You can then take it out of the lathe to this little here. Because what is not on the same axis and concentric to this face here is the head. The head's been machined later on, I guess, or not at the same time as they've turned the shoulder down. So I can't hold it on the head and just machine it lightly. We can now really see how out of round they are. So that is that then, all turned up and trued up, and a little bit of relief on the back side there. So all we've got to do now is measure that, see where we're at. Oh, wow. So that is now 24.5 mil, 24.5 2. Okay. So now I then need to now make the bushes up out of the steel here. So we want to turn that into one of these. Then we'll ream them to size. So let me get one of this set up in the lathe and going. Right, so first what we'll do is chuck our bit of bar stock in the truck. Snug that up. So we'll give it a little bit of a spin. Yep. First thing we're going to do is chop off the centre. Put ourselves a drill bit, centre drill. Centre drill is just a really short and sturdy drill bit. What that'll do is stop the longer drill bit moving around as it tries to find the centre. Give you a more accurate hole. So now we'll go for a bigger hole up the middle. Right, we're going to go for a bigger drill bit. Right, next size up drill bit. Right, that is the hole drilled. So what we'll do is we'll swap round to the boring bar now and we'll turn the inside dimensions to the right size. We'll bore it true and then take a measurement. Right then, so that is now inside down to the right size. So we'll set up and then turn the outside down to the correct size. So I've swapped back down to the turning tool now. And you'll see why we went for 35mm bar stock. So I have took 1/4 mil off there. And so I've touched there, but this whole bit here hasn't been touched yet. That's why you go oversized and then turn it down and true it up. So I need this to end up 31. No, 30. Wrong sheet. 30.1. Yeah. And we are now 30. 34.18. So we've got a fair bit more to come off yet. So you saw the little bushes that I made to go on these bolts here. Now we've got to fit into the housing. So again, I've made a little tool up with just a little shoulder that locates over there, so then we can hit this end with a hammer and knock them into the housing. We will warm the housing up a little bit with a bit of fire. The idea of this is we warm it up slightly, that'll just expand a little bit, help us knock this in, then once it cools it'll contract and really grip that bush. Ready? Yep. So there's a chamfered edge on the bush, so chamfer down, locate him and then start twatting it. I think we're through. A bit more actually. Maybe too much. Nope. No, that's spot on. That actually wasn't too bad to do. They fit a treat, Josh.
Yep. We know how to measure things.
Yep. Right, next. We've left them slightly oversized, so we could then... Actually undersized. Slightly undersized. So we could then hand finish them with a reamer. We're trying to eliminate all of the play. in this tensioner. So I think these ones are going to take a little bit of reaming. So as I adjust this up, so if I go 1/2 turn on this side, and then I go 1/2 turn this side, we're now a couple of thou bigger. Now, just like a drill, these only cut in one direction, so you don't want to turn them backwards because that will blunt the blades. In case of drills, keep going tighter. A little light oil to help. That is no play. Beautiful. So we'll do the other one, then we'll join you back as we then fit the top half. Right, so these new bushes that we made now need to be pressed in. So, ironically actually, this one's an old one that we've reused because it's good. And that'll be because I replaced it halfway through last season. These bushes we made, it's now time to press them in. So I put a bit of bearing retainer in there to make sure they stick in and don't spin. And then because they're all sized, we just need to so this one is CC. So Josh operates the press for us.
Backup Josh is here.
Now, because the construction of this, there's nothing to stop it spreading or closing up. I've got a bit of angle we cut to the right length. The slots in like that. And that'll stop us pressing the swing arm together. Whoa. Hang on, let me check. Yep. Whoa. Yep. Off. One shiny new bush fitted. So we're now somewhere a little different. Our lathe wouldn't quite spin this, but we found on the axle where the seals go, that little shim we got, he's now a loose fit and doesn't fit properly. So we need to turn this out. I don't know if they can see how out round it is, Josh, if you...
If I do that and then you turn it.
We're touching there. And then this side we are that far away. Again, now touching. So we need to make that round again, and then we'll make a little sleeve that goes up there and bring it to the right size again. Jump around a little bit.
Hopefully this doesn't kill me.
Right, now you can really see. So we've touched here,
But not there at all.
but not there at all. And it's worn the side because there's a tensioner and it's being pulled into the track. It's worn. Right, so we'll do a bit more and then we'll bring you back. So hopefully we're now down to, we're looking 40 mil.
I can read it. .4006.
Oh, well, no. One last little
Just a little.
bit more.
Let's try that, please. Just a.
Ready?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's turned down. We have to make a collar up. Well, no, sleeve up out of this.
That has now been pressed in, and that's flush across the top there and flush to there. So we'll let the Loctite go off before trying to push that on, and well, we'll measure it up again once it has all gone off, make sure it is still the size it was. So you can see that on that one as well now. So he's all pressed together. Double check it is still the same size, and then we can push that on the stub axle and then rebuild the tensioner assembly.
Right then, so now is the time for us to push this bush onto our little stub axle. So we're going to set them up in the press. Yeah.
This camera needs a quick wipe.
So again, we're going to stick the old bearing fit inside. And again, this is 638, which is a permanent, well, semi-permanent bearing retainer. That will need the best part of 150 degrees to break its bond. So we need a few hands here, Josh, aren't we?
Yeah. Let me then. That turns. There you go. That's going straight now.
Is it?
Yep.
I just want to center this again.
Yeah. Taking a bit of pushing on.
Oh yeah. That's 10 ton currently.
Is it really?
Yep. It's home.
Yeah.
Made a weird noise.
It did make a weird noise. There was a moment of truth.
This could have gone wrong. It has, but it hasn't.
What's it done? It burred something up.
It did.
What did you find? Or you've thrown it on the floor already?
It's gone. Got a little burr around in here. So our interference fit was probably
A little too interferencey.
luckily. So in the future, you'll probably see these because we're going to do a second refurb on these next time. Hopefully, we're talking years, not months. We're also on the lookout for 4 of these. I could do 4 of these. If someone is aware of any for sale at poor man's prices, hit us up. Failing that, we shall, like we did in the lathe, chuck it back on here, turn ourselves a flat spot in the middle to put a steady in the middle, and then you can see where they're welded together. So we'll cut through that weld around here, take this stub off the tube, and then re-weld another one on, and then turn it down and true it up. But you can see the sleeve. I think that is spot on.
So it's time to build up one of these tensioner assemblies. It's seen us take one apart, and we took it apart in situ, but we're putting it together on the bench. Better lighting, it's dark outside. So these are the bolts in the reamed holes, and then I say the shaft that attaches it all is at the bottom here. So this piece, which is what the wheel goes on, pivots on these bolts, and that's what does the tension on the track. Pivots like that. So to make sure these bolts don't get stuck in again, because they took a lot of hammering out, we're just going to pop some copper slip on that shoulder, on this bit, because this is in the new bush, and then that one, which is what goes in the second arm, we're actually going to bear and fit that in, because they don't have a replaceable bush in, so we don't want the bolt turning in that. We want to turn in the bush that we can replace in future again if need be. They don't spin particularly much anyway, because it's the pivot for the track tension, but we don't want them getting stuck. So you've been seeing lots of copper grease whilst putting this together, so you know what that is at this point. That is the left bolt. And the right bolt. And then this, where is the, it's over there. And then in these two holes, just gonna pop a ring of some 638. Just all the way around. And then, so this goes that way around. One. I'm just making sure they're home, and you see the bolts are turning in this bit. So they both have a nut each as well. And then these nuts are castellated to take a split pin. And then so they take them split pin through the castellation, like so. And then just split that. That's a split pin in, so that now can't rattle loose. There we go. That split pin's in, and that is now ready to be fitted.